Marty.
Hello, I'm Ryan.
I'm Bethany.
And we are Ryan and Bethany Board Game Reviews.
We got a really big problem happening.
You guys, right now, there is a bomb ticking off in here in our board game room. It's going to go off in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
So, anyway...
Good news, we survived.
We are continuing our revisit series where we talk about games that we have already reviewed. And today we'll be talking about Fuse. And this is published by Renegade Game Studios and designed by Kane Klinko.
You guys, this is a real-time cooperative game, basically trying to go through as many of these cards as possible. Each card gives you a new challenge talking about you have to roll certain colors or certain numbers in order to complete these challenges. Yeah. If you get them all done before the timer goes off, you win. But there's a whole lot of things that are going to try to stop you along the way, too. Let me give you a quick overview of how to play. All right, here is our setup for Fuse. All right, so we've got our bag full of dice over here. There are 5 different colors, and they're just D6s numbered 1 through 6. Every player is also going to have 2 cards in front of them that they're working on. Usually, you want to work on one easy one and one hard one at a time. They're numbered how difficult they are, 1 through 6 up here. And then we also have 5 cards that you can choose from. So whenever we complete one of these cards, you're going to get rid of it, replace it with one of these from the row. We've also got our stack over here. Basically, what's going to happen, that's in our win condition. We want to, every time we keep on refilling this, we're going to refill a card from over here as well. We win the game once this stack, as well as that entire row, is completed. You want to have a 10-minute timer going. There is a specific Fuse app, which has some really fun music going to it. It counts off. There's a personality voice and a regular voice. I won't go through the whole thing, obviously, but the personality voice has some hilarious things throughout the game. So I recommend using that Fuse app. It is a free Renegade app that you can download. There is a little bit of setup involved. Now you want to kind of stack the deck based off this little chart here, based off the number of players, how difficult you want it, that's how many cards you're going to use, and what kind of cards you're going to use. And then also, we have these Fuse cards. These are going to be cards that you're going to shuffle into that main deck. These are all bad things. Whenever these pop up, you have to get rid of some of your dice. So whenever you see this, every player would have to get rid of a 6. If you saw this, every player would have to get rid of a red die, etc., etc. So how does the actual game work? Well, on your turn, you're going to be given this dice bag. You're going to pull out as many dice as there are players. In the case of a 2-player game, you're going to pull out 4 dice. So let's say we're playing a 2-player game. What you do is you roll the dice up, then you look at your board, and you place whatever you can. In this case, this is bad news. This one over here requires me to have a black dice stacked on top of a black dice, stacked on top of a yellow, and then a yellow. So in this case, I'm not able to use any of these blues or greens. I am able to use some of these over here. So let's say I do a 5 and a 4. Gives me a little math problem here. I have to add 3 dice equaling 11. So obviously for my last dice, I'm going to have to place a 2 there in order for that to work. And then my opponent, or not my opponent, because it's a cooperative game. So let's say Bethany's playing with me. She uses those 2 cards. She puts them on her cards. Same thing, now it's her turn. She's going to grab 4 dice out of the bag. I'm going to pass the bag to her. She's going to quickly roll them. And we're going to take whatever we can. So I'm going to take this black dice, start that stack over there. And hey, what? There's a 2. I can finish off that card. All these dice that I use go back in the bag. This card gets discarded off to the side. I draft a new one, put it into my stack as fast as I can. Obviously, I'd be using 2 hands to go a little easier. And replenish the row. You want to work together with the table, make sure everyone gets the dice they need, because you want to hurry a little bit, because this is you are on a timer. But at the same time, if you have 2 dice that maybe you could take, but someone else, they could only use a blue 5 or whatever the case is. You want to communicate a little bit so that way you know what everybody needs. If there's ever a situation where someone can't use a die, that is bad news. So let's say Bethany was able to use this. We've got this one left over. This one was never used by anybody. What we have to do is, before we draw new ones and start a new round, we have to roll that die. Everyone would have to get rid of either a green die or a 1 die from anything that's showing. That can be pretty detrimental, especially if there was like a very specific number that you've been working towards, then all of a sudden you have to get rid of it. So that can be bad. You want to try to make sure you use every die so that way you don't have to discard any at the end of the turn. There are a ton of different cards out there. Each one has its own challenges. Like this one, for instance, you have to stack dice on top of each other. Same with this one. This one is kind of you have to keep on getting smaller and smaller numbers. There's another math problem one over there. Sometimes you have to build a little pyramid out of dice. There's just a ton of different challenges that you can face when you're flipping over these cards and trying to fulfill them. But again, this is a cooperative game. You have a 10-minute timer. If you are able to complete this entire stack of cards, as well as all of the ones up here, you do not have to complete the 2 that are in front of you. If you're able to do that before the time runs out, you are going to win the game.
One thing that is great about this, and it can be said for all real-time games, but I like it in this game, is that whether you play 2, 3, or 4 player, it really is just 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Like,
There's a little 10-minute timer.
Yeah, there's no choice. So, I mean, it doesn't, you might, like, you'll add more, you'll pull out more dice, but still the gameplay is the exact same amount. So I really like that. You can play with all of that, or which is the 2 of us, and it's still 10 minutes.
Yeah, there is a lot of different challenges that you are presented with this in the game, from having to re-roll dice that you weren't able to use, or those bomb cards that pop up and make you get rid of dice you've already placed. So basically, this is a huge upward battle, right? But the good news is, there's also 5 different levels of difficulties that you can modify during the setup phase. How hard do you actually want it to be? Another thing that's cool about the app is it tracks all that for you. There's actually a scoring mechanism too. We don't really play with this one. It's usually pass or fail.
Yeah. That's
usually fail. But there's a way that you can score things at the end and kind of get points for how much time was left on the clock, how difficult were the cards that you played, all that kind of stuff. So I like how there's a lot of variability within the difficulty, even though overall I'd say it's pretty tough, but there is ways to modify that, which is nice.
I mean, how do people finish with, like, time on the clock? Like, with time to spare?
Yeah, I'm in, like, 2-3 minutes tops.
Lies. You just are all lying. One of the things that I also like about this component-wise is that the dice are really easy to read, and it's really fun because they are, I mean, it's a countdown. You can kind of see it right here. It's analog, right? I mean, Fuse right here is analog, and so I really like that the dice are the numbers in an analog form. I think that thematically that fits really well, and I like that they chose that design choice.
I will say this game can be pretty dang stressful. Yes. We enjoy that tension, that stress, but you get kind of loud a little bit too. Like, here, quick, take the dice bag. It's your turn to roll. Go, roll faster.
I need two blue.
I need a red. I'll take a yellow, take a red. When everyone's just yelling and they're taking whatever they need to take. If you don't like that level of stress, that pressure on you, this might not be the game for you. But if you are okay with that, knowing full well that you are going to be, up against the clock the entire time, you're going to be pushing each other to go faster and faster and faster. If you're okay with that, I think you're really going to enjoy this. But again, just beware, if that's not you, this is not the game. Don't even try. You're not going to enjoy it.
This game is fun, and it's quick, and it's easy to teach, at least for me. I think it's easy to teach when I feel like I have a grasp on a game and I can teach it to somebody else. That's when I think that it's an easy teach, if I can
right.
teach it. It can be a little defeatism. When you first play, if you're not able to go through a card or two in the first minute, you've lost.
Right.
You've essentially lost the game. And so sometimes they can be frustrated when you start the game off like that. But, I mean, it's going to happen eventually, whether it's in the beginning, middle, or end of the game where you just can't cycle through the cards that you need to. But that can be a little frustrating when that happens at the beginning. Doesn't really deter us from our enjoyment of it, but there is that out there.
Yeah, we do like our co-ops a little more challenging, and we're okay with a high loss ratio just because we just like that for whatever reason. But just keep that in, take that with a grain of salt.
Yeah.
But also, I will say that last time, so we reviewed this once before, we enjoyed this one quite a bit.
Oh, yeah.
And we kept it on the shelf, obviously, it's all these years. And plus, now we're bringing it back out again. We've been playing it on and off ever since, and it's still a game that we enjoy. This is still one that stood the test of time. We enjoy it. It is a fast co-op game. It's 10 minutes, with maybe a few minutes of setup to kind of stack the deck in the various ways you need to. But, man, what a great game. It's so much fun. And King Klenko is like the master of like the real-time co-op game. So this is, one of his masterpieces in my opinion. It's a great game, super challenging, tough, but fast. And we really enjoyed it.
Well, thank you so much for watching. Let us know in the comments below if there's any real-time games that you absolutely love, or if there's any real-time games that you just steer away from because you cannot stand them. Until then, you can always subscribe to us, or you can find us on Facebook. We're Ryan Bethany Board Game Reviews. On Twitter, we're Ryan Bethany 1, and on Instagram, we are Ryan and Bethany.
You guys, thanks for watching, and we will see you next time.
Bye.